The show that reveals how extraordinary items in our world are designed, constructed and produced. See the engineering, the technology and big ideas that make the world go round. Find out how it works. Coming up, building a fairground attraction. How a team of 20 men erect a log flume in under a week. Imitation leather. How PVC gets a patent print to help it look as good as the real thing. And how fields full of herbs are grown, dried and blended together to create a culinary classic. But first, padlocks. They're used all over the world to protect everything from homes to businesses. But if they're so hard to break, how do they put one together in the first place? Here at this padlock manufacturer, they start with the body. These heavy-duty steel bars weigh 25 kilos each and are incredibly strong. They have to be cut into 8-centimeter lengths by a saw with a powerful blade. Crates of the cut bodies are then taken off to the other side of the factory for the next step of the process. All of the elements have to fit perfectly, or the padlock won't be secure. They're going to be drilled so that the locking mechanism can be fitted. It's done by machine to make sure that the holes are exactly the right size. To make the padlock arms, steel bars are fed into this machine where a powerful press bends them into shape. The steel bars are moved along to another machine, which drills grooves into the side of the arm. Later on, these will anchor the arm in the body until the key is turned. To strengthen the padlock, it's baked until it's red hot. Then it's rapidly cooled. This process makes the metal more flexible and therefore less likely to be snapped or shattered. After a quick wash in soapy water, the next step is to make sure the padlocks won't rust in the rain. They're submerged in a bath alongside green sacks full of nickel dust. The nickel has been given a positive polarity, so when the padlocks are set to a negative polarity, they attract the nickel dust which forms a coating. Then, the nickel-coated locks are given another rinse. To galvanize the steel, another layer has to be added, this time of chrome. They use the same method as before, and when they have a chrome coating, the locks are waterproof. It's time to build the complex locking mechanism. Here, keys are cut and a code is assigned to each one. This 7-digit number assigns each padlock its specific locking mechanism, of which there are 10 million combinations. The lock builder constructs each mechanism using the corresponding numbered rings that match the key code. The locking mechanism consists of two elements. The first is a pair of ball bearings. These two ball bearings sit next to the barrel and in the grooves of the arm. When the key turns the barrel, they slide into it and the arm is released. The next element is a pin on the side of the barrel. This ensures only the correct key will open the lock. When the key is turned, the discs rotate and line up to form a slot for the pin. If the pin doesn't fall into the slot, then the barrel can't be turned any further and the lock stays locked. Once completed, the whole lock is sealed shut. Then each lock receives its arm and an outer covering. As padlocks are often used outdoors, they have to be able to withstand the harshest weather conditions. So they're tested at extremely low temperatures, below -40 degrees Celsius. It passes the test with flying colours and is one very secure padlock. The log flume is one of the most popular rides at the fair. Building one is clearly a lot of hard work, and the guys who put up this flume could tell you all about it, as they have to do it nearly every month as the fair moves on from town to town. The construction will take about a week, and the first stage is to lay a base for the ride. Obviously, for a log flume, it needs to be waterproof. They're building the largest mobile log flume in the world, and it will be filled with more than 1.5 million litres of water. The ride is moved up to 10 times a year, which results in wear and tear, so they have to regularly service the equipment. Rips in the base are repaired with a silicone sealant. The framework is slotted into these holes, and the rubber rings will form a waterproof seal. A crane lowers down the sections, and workmen guide them into place. All of the parts of the flume arrive on this train, and are lifted off piece by piece. Whilst the framework for the top section of the ride is still being built, the first canal segments are fitted below. When the ride's finished, there will be 52 of them in all. These steel girders will guide the carts along the canals. "20 men work as a crew to get the whole ride up and running. And at the end of day one, they've made some solid progress. The following morning, they start off by fixing the beams that will carry the top sections of the flume. These guys might work for the fun fair, but they need to have the skills of circus acrobats, as they balance on top of beams as high as 26 meters. Work continues at a rapid pace, and the day flies by. The last canal section is fitted into place, and the waterway is complete. They use the crane to lift over the carts that will go round the flume. These are worth over £5 a piece. The next thing they need to make a water ride work is water. To fill the system with over 1.5 million litres takes almost 48 hours and costs around £5,000 each time. By the end of the 5th day, the ride is up and running, but there's a long way to go before the public will be able to ride on it. Empty carts are sent around the ride for a day to make sure there are no loose joints and the 5,000 parts that make up the ride are all working as they should be. Any problem shows up on the system in the control room, and they're checked out by a mechanic. The conveyor belts have to be tough enough to carry the weight of the carts and up to 6 passengers at a time. It takes them up from the bottom to a height of 26 meters. It won't exactly be the ride of the passenger's life, but it will provide some light entertainment. Ten massive water pumps dotted around the system keep the water pressure up and regulate its flow. The enormous pressure these pumps generate carries nearly 30,000 litres of water around the system every hour. When the tests are over and the ride's deemed safe, the workers finally get to have some fun. They best enjoy it while they can, because in a few short weeks, we'll be taking the whole thing down again. Coming up after the break, how basil, thyme and rosemary are mixed together with a range of other herbs to make one of the finest blends in the world of gastronomy. And a factory that makes imitation leather. Could you spot the real thing? These might all look like they're made from leather, but some of them are actually made from an imitation. In the 1930s, when PVC became widely available to manufacturers, they started to make a cheaper alternative to the real thing, and synthetic leather was born. It begins with simple ingredients: a liquid called plasticizer, which will help keep the material supple, a stabilizer to keep it in good shape, a fragrance for the authentic leather aroma, and of course the main ingredient, polyvinyl chloride, or PVC. All of these are stirred together for 30 minutes to ensure a smooth consistency. On the other side of the factory, they need to mix up a dye. One of the most popular colours for synthetic leather is black, and to make it, they simply mix water with a vast quantity of industrial soot, just like the kind you would sweep out of an old chimney. All the other colours are stored in these vats. To get the exact shade thereafter, a computer-controlled system mixes in some other dyes. It's the same kind of system as you'd find in a paint shop. Once all the colours have been added, they're all stirred together. The PVC mix is wheeled over and the dye is poured in. It's blended for a further 30 minutes, and then the paste is ready to become synthetic leather. This paper has been covered with silicone, so that it won't bond with the synthetic leather and they can separate it later on. A worker spreads the paste over the paper. And then it's evened out as it's pressed through a 0.3mm slit. At 200 degrees Celsius, the PVC paste transforms into a solid sheet. To give it extra strength, they add a second layer of the PVC formula, but this time they've mixed in a rising agent. When the two layers are baked, the second layer rises just like a cake in the oven. As well as strengthening the material, it also gives it a more natural feel. The material is now 1.3mm thick, but it's not strong enough yet. Glue is spread on so they can give it yet another layer. It's a mix of cotton and polyester, and it stops the material from tearing easily. Once more, the material makes its way through an oven, where the three layers are bonded by a 200 degrees Celsius heat. In the microscopic cross-section, the fibrous layer of cotton and polyester can be seen at the bottom. The material can now be detached from the original paper silicone base. They can reuse these bases up to 10 times. The synthetic leather is nearly ready, but in its present state the material looks like rubber. The next stage of the process is to give it a textured finish. As the material passes through the next set of rollers, a coat of artificial resin is added. This gives the cloth a sheen that takes it one step closer to the leather look. This room contains over 300 textured rollers, including varieties such as water buffalo and even artificial ostrich. The imitation leather's pressed with a roller of the designer's choice to give it a natural-looking finish. Looks like leather, feels like leather, and even smells like leather. Could you tell the difference? The region of Provence in southern France is famed for its beautiful landscapes, ancient villages, and its fields full of aromatic herbs. Over the years, they've developed a special blend, known simply as the Herbe de Provence. Amongst others, the blend contains rosemary, basil and thyme, which will all be dried to preserve their flavors. Before they can get into a kitchen cupboard, they need to be farmed. And here the sunny climate and the rich soil provide the perfect combination. But in the hot summer months they need a bit of cooling down, so the growers water them with a sprinkler system. In mid-September, the fields of rosemary are at their peak, and the herb is ready to join thyme, fennel, marjoram, savory, basil and sage to make the herb de Provence. Once it's been harvested, the rosemary is left to dry on a wooden rack for 10 days, where warm air streams up through the slats and preserves the aromas. Then it's fed into a machine which strips away the woody stalks. It's bagged up into large sacks and then taken to a warehouse to be processed. 60 tons of herbs are delivered here each year. Each sack that arrives is carefully weighed and recorded so that the origin of each delivery can be traced. The rosemary is shaken through this sifting machine. As well as removing dirt particles, it sorts the herb as the machine mesh gets narrower from coarse to extra fine. The different grades can subtly affect the flavour, and all of the other herbs get the same treatment. Then it's off to the herb de Provence mixer. A forklift truck lifts the crate up. And with the turn of a handle, the crate load of rosemary is dumped in. It's actually a carefully measured amount and will combine with the other herbs to create a precise blend. Thoroughly mixed, it falls through a chute into a sack. Each one holds 25 kilograms. Finally, the sacks are stitched up. They'll be sent all around the world, but wherever they end up, they'll bring a little taste of the south of France.